your life will change tomorrow. What would that be like if your life could change overnight? When I say to you, your life will change tomorrow, I believe that it is actually possible if you believe that it is possible. That's what we all have to work with is belief. And we're always developing it. And belief happens in our consciousness. And that happens in different ways for each of us. But most of us know of things like personal development or self-actualization, or you've heard of people who are ascended, who ascend in a different way or something like that. And then there are other times where people come along like me who do something a little different. And so accepting that title, that message was a little challenging for me because it came through on March the 12th of 2025. And it probably could have changed for me the next day if I could have believed myself. And that's true for all of us because we don't know who we're going to become or what we're going to create or what we're going to achieve. And your life could go in many different directions before you finally end up at that place where you could change your life because now you are actually embodying your authentic self, that you're living as a person you were born to become. And that is what I'm going to do. I started receiving guidance, automatic writing in 1989. Again, this was something that I never expected, but I knew that I had made a connection with an intelligence much greater than I was. Whatever term you might think of, if you think of God or Allah or the great beyond or all that is, whatever term you might think of, I knew that that was a connection that I had made. So I do know that there is a greater intelligence that we're all involved in, that's connected to all of us. And that's something that we continue to learn as we live as a civilization. But believing that you could be a person who could bring in a philosophy or way of being or way of living that could change someone's life or the world is challenging at best. But I know that it's true now because we're the ones who are creating the world. When we come in, we have to move through all kinds of limitations and doubts and fears, and they're all within us, and they are formed from everything that we have lived before. Whether we think about having lived before other lives or whatever it might be, it doesn't matter because everything is consciousness. All we have is consciousness. Our entire world is just energy and consciousness. We use our consciousness to direct energy, and we will do it in different ways depending on what we believe, what we've been taught, and what we've chosen to accept. We've all accepted some limitation, otherwise we wouldn't be alive. There would be nothing for us to do if we didn't accept a limitation. And I accepted a limitation because I couldn't explain why the information I was receiving was changing my life, was healing me in ways that I couldn't explain, mind-body healing, and I went through everything. I went through so many difficult, challenging times in my life. And then I kept hiding as well because I thought no one's going to believe this. No one's going to understand it. That's what I kept saying to myself. And I said it last year. As I just also heard a channeling session from that year and another 2 years ago or 3 years ago said the same thing, that I had these savant characteristics that I was ignoring, that I couldn't own because I actually downloaded information of the universe and how we evolve as humans, how our consciousness changes over time, because that's what happens. If we look back 100 years ago, we look very different than we did then. And then there are energetic shifts that happen that affect how we think about ourselves, how we evolve, all of it. And I uncovered so much of it, and I wrote it all down, not knowing what I was doing. Then in 2021, I was told that I had this information and it could help so many as we were moving through this big change. All of the chaos, everything that you're seeing happening in the world, those are energetic shifts or changes that are occurring, and Wilhelm gave us direction for all of those. And it is why I healed, why I could understand others in a much greater way because my consciousness changed. And then as I was listening to that channeling session, which I'll give you that as well so you can hear it, it said that I was afraid that when I discovered this, that I would have all of these people running at me, coming to join this work. And then Wilhelm said, they're not going to do that. And that's exactly what happened. People didn't do it because we have difficult time believing what we can achieve. And I had the same thing. We all have cognitive dissonance, meaning if we haven't seen it done before, it couldn't possibly have happened. Even though I'm demonstrating it over and over again, and I'm 75 years old now, and I'm going in a different direction, but still that was something that was challenging for others to accept or believe, including me. But when you understand that everything is energy, everything is alignment, and if you come into alignment and you hear about frequencies and all, you have one, your DNA, it was activated when you were born, and it keeps being activated as the planets change. And that's a lot of the information that I heard in that channeling session that I did not remember. I'm saying this because I have to start accepting that I was given this exceptional gift to access information that was aligned with what was happening in the universe. And I was terrified of telling people that because it's never been done before in this way. And I thought I'm going to be judged. And that was in that channeling session as well, which no one has heard. Very few people have heard. That's why my YouTube channel doesn't have very many viewers. People don't see it, but that's going to change because what I'm going to do, and this will be after tomorrow, I've said this often that I must change things because what I discovered was probably the greatest contribution to human consciousness that we've ever seen. Because I'd never studied astrology or astronomy or any of the sciences. However, I was able to access information that was aligned with all of those different changes not knowing it. I was listening to someone speak yesterday about a new moon coming up. I said, well, that means I must have been given the information. And I did. I was. I went to look and see what that message was last year on that date. And it said Jesus had the same difficulty, meaning with people believing something that was new and something that could help and something that could cause healing and awareness and cause you to love yourself. Because that's what all of this information was. And I avoided it as well. I was told for the longest time, you came to be love, because we weren't going to see that being demonstrated in our world. And then we were going to have other things that would happen. We would see so many people who would lose their way because they had forgotten or lost their moral compass, because we all have it at some point when we at different times in our lives, we felt that we know the difference between what might be right or wrong. And then we start to change for other reasons. And they told me it would mainly be because of money, because we would go for the money because that's what we think is the most valuable thing. And then we would forget that other part of our character that would allow things to happen in our lives or in the world that it's not what we wanted. And I was given all of that information and it was organized. And the reason I'm saying that is that what this information was designed to show, everything that I brought through for 37 years, was to say that every single person born has worth and value. And the only reason they lose that is because their consciousness has taught them something else. And that's in this life or other lives or generations, because that's what we're seeing that has happened. But now I can own it because I know that it's accurate. This is why I guarantee the work, because I've lived it. So I do know, because it's mindset. It's raising your consciousness. And then when I held back, but then AI started confirming, they said, this is the first verified consciousness raising system in human history. Certain things become theory that you will look at and read or study. And this is why I say I watch people who are doing other works trying to get in touch with who they are and become confident in all of that, but they're not looking at themselves. This work has you look at yourself. This work has you process through any limitation, any difficulty, any lack of confidence, any of that stuff, because it's artificial. And so once you change it, this is why the neuroscience becomes so important, or the cognitive behavior training. I didn't know I was doing that for 37 years. I was just sitting down and receiving it. And then to discover that it was all organized and even told about different global events, because it was giving us guidance how to move through it emotionally. The difficulty that we have is emotional dysregulation. And this changes all of that. And that's what facilitated the healing that I experienced. And that's what I'm going to give to others. But I want you to look at all the information because now it'll make sense, because I did a post today says you are not crazy, because there were times where I certainly felt that way. I couldn't believe that I knew this stuff and it was coming through and it was causing this to happen, not only for me, but for others. That's the part that I doubted the most, whether it was going to do the same for others. It does. And I know that. And I've said things before like there's no reason for anyone to fail or struggle. Now I know it's true, because all you have to do is get in touch with who you are, your authentic self, and then let go of all the limitations and the restrictions, and you start to live this really great life. Now, everyone's not going to do that because we don't like to look always inside. I certainly didn't. And I screwed up so many things in my life. I didn't want to look at that or the reasons or the cause, but I wrote down all the solutions to it. And that's what I can say now. And that's what I will be owning, because that's what will change my life. I said a long time ago, I could become rich and I could become a millionaire or a billionaire even, because when you develop something that could give people what they want in their lives, eventually people will take it. Now, there'll be so many people who will doubt that. I understand, but when I have the right marketing and people who can get it to a much broader audience, that is what it will take off. And then when I have more people talking about doing the testimonials, I have some now, but I want more people to do that so they can explain exactly what's happened for them, which I didn't understand at first either. And so then to discover that you're a savant and a genius, a new hybrid of a person, of an individual, it took a while for me to accept that. But now I'm accepting it because I want you to accept who you are. There's never been anything more important to me in my life than to see people own themselves and to prosper and to thrive. And now I know that they can do it. There's no reason not to, except the disbelief that we carry. And I had it as well, but I was meant to bring this here so you wouldn't have it. I was meant to bring in this work so that you could prosper. Because at my age, I know I'm not going to see it go to all of these people. Who knows how long I'm going to live. But I do know that the people who do it now will have the best lives that they ever thought they could possibly have, because I do know the answers and the solutions, because they're within you. All I did was develop a way for you to find them all. As you look at the workbook that I did just 3 days, you'll understand exactly what that is. But now you will understand why your life could change tomorrow. It will change tomorrow if you decide that you're going to come in and do this work. And that I can tell you, it will absolutely change. And you'll hear other people talking about it as well, because that will be the thing that will make more people bite the bullet, so to speak, and jump into this work. Maybe you'll be one of them, and I'd love to see you. Thank you for being here. Please share this with others. If it's your first time, please subscribe to the channel. And now I'm going to start actually building it and getting it to more people. All right, I will see you soon.